Hello, this is Renee Manfred with What's Your Passion? And I have a very good friend of mine, Lene Stockstill, on with me. And me and Lene has been friends for, I believe, going on at least 5 years. What you think? I think we're
I
five
think
years.
at least then, yeah. I think we met before that, but then really when I did my real estate
Some,
project online, we
yeah.
kind of connected and realized we had a meeting of the minds.
So Lene and I, we do real estate. We're both here from New Orleans, Louisiana, and both of us kind of go back and forth with all different types of subjects that we're dealing with clients who are either in wholesaling, they're looking for investment properties. So we've kind of connected through the years of really just investing and investors and conversation. So we're actually working on some different projects currently that we're dealing with individuals who are either wanting to get into real estate investing, learn more about wholesaling, things of that nature. So our conversations can go anywhere, but let's stay. Can kind of tell me a little bit about yourself, Lene? Is just kind of how long have you been in real estate? What were you doing before, if you don't mind? Just kind of giving everybody a little bit of synopsis of where you came from and
Okay.
who you are.
Right. I entered real estate in 2012 after having my first child. I wanted to have a business that would give me the flexibility to go on field trips and things like that. But real estate seemed to be a very good avenue towards that as being an agent. Now, I had started investing in real estate at that time more intentionally, other than just buying my first place. So at that
Right.
time, I bought three houses and three pieces of property after selling a condo that I had. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. Is I want to have some stable income through these investments, and then just kind of took it from there. Before that, I was doing a little bit of internet, um, helping people out with that. I had a blog, things like that. So it's been an interesting journey, kind of, that has gotten me to this point. And now I tend to focus on investors primarily
And
and
I,
help.
I know when you've gotten good at some of the internet marketing in a way to where when you first put that summit together, which you and I are talking about putting together a summit again, where that we can make that more consistent. So when you started doing like the internet blog and all, was that just something you did every week? You wrote a new blog about certain subjects or certain topics?
Yeah, at the time it was about dating because that's what I was doing. So I ended up writing a book about it. I don't even know where that is anymore, but it was great though to really writing is a great way to process anything you're trying to work through. So it was a great thing at the time to learn internet marketing, be able to write a book, and have that under my belt because
Right.
it's such a thing that people think it's very overwhelming, but if you're systematic about it, it gets easier.
Well, heck, I'm gonna have to talk to you then because I have like three different books. I have the topics and I have the schedule, but it's just sitting down and trying to figure out how to fill in the blanks, right? So I might have to get with you on that.
Okay,
Well, we might be able to do a co-brand. Might co-brand a new book. Hey,
there
that
you
might be.
go.
I'd rather
Yeah.
co-brand books versus just myself.
Yeah, what I like to do is teach through stories because people connect with stories. So if you can lay out a story, it keeps people engaged, and then you go through the story to teach the point you want to get across. But then you have data that it's something So I like that.
Yeah, I think I think everybody needs to know the story.
Hmm.
They it's hard to tell ever individuals how to do something if you can't relate it back to how you got started, right? Whether it's whatever areas of real estate or business or just life in general. I think everyone needs to know that story.
Right.
I'm starting to get excited. Are we about to have story time? I love story time.
Love story time. That's my
Well, we're
favorite
going to
time.
have stories.
This is great.
Yeah, so like with for example, and people like hearing your stories, whether especially when you learn a tough lesson. So one would be, in a project where I teamed up with a homeowner and I provided the funds to fix her house.
Mm,
But
I did.
I thought I made a good bit of money, but after I went through and looked at all the numbers and I didn't track it as well as I should have, this was years ago. I was like, oh, I mean, I still made money, but it wasn't nearly as much as I thought. And
Right.
So the importance of tracking your numbers and staying within budget is one of those things that I definitely learned through that experience.
No, I say it's always when you're looking at a property, it's when I first started was I didn't really know all the tracking and everything else, but I just kind of looked at it from the perspective of when you look at it, you start dissecting what areas that you have to fix that you know, because some things we don't know. But then you always have to put in that little extra buffer for certain things because that price that you're thinking in your mind, or you get estimates from certain individuals. So in your process, when you look at a property, the tracking system that you kind of use now, is that something that you do on every property? You kind of break it down and how much you're getting it for, what you're estimating.
Right. So there's estimating costs. There are certain things you learn just through experience, or you're simply calling around to get quotes.
Mhm.
And that's the easier part. What you don't figure in is your holding cost. Well, a lot of people are like, oh, look, I could make 50 grand on this property. Well, what were your holding costs? What did the money that you borrowed cost you? And
Correct.
everything. So I now have a spreadsheet where I can look at that up front and just rule whether, okay, is this worth it or not?
And do you
So,
put in there that if, and I know we all think that once you finish the property and it's going to go up for sale, you're going to automatically, but do you account in there maybe how much time you might have to hold on to that property before it actually sells?
right. So a lot of that is looking at your days on market, what's your average on the market, and things like that. So you can kind of estimate. So if a house is, well, first of all, you buy the house. How long is it going to take you to renovate it? You got to factor that in. How, and then maybe double it. And then look at days on market. Once you hit the market, is it going to take 30 or 60 or 120 days to sell it? And so 6 months, depending on like this little house that I'm looking at doing, I think it's only going to be a 3 month hold because we're launching we'll make it live in the spring. So say we buy the property end of February, we work on it for, I would say it shouldn't take more than 2 to 3 weeks, list
Mhm.
it, and then a month later, and days on market in that area is less than 30 days if it's priced right.
Right.
And then if it's not priced right, you better be willing to lower that price quick
Correct.
because I don't know if it pays to hold.
And when you're looking at, I guess the overall, when you're looking at this, like particularly this property, I know you and I have talked about this one. So for this one, you're getting it at right around 103,000 or so, I think. And
Mhm.
so when you look at how much you're going to be putting into it, you're estimating 13 to 15,000 is going to
Right.
be the cost factor that you're going to have to put into what paint and what else?
Paint, so we have to paint the whole place. It has a new roof, don't have to worry about that. It has a working AC. This particular area, you don't have to put like, excellent condition, like, I don't have to replace windows. It has aluminum windows, but it doesn't pay to replace those at this
Okay.
point. They're all functional and whatnot because, in that market, excellent has a different meaning than it does in the, say, the New Orleans market. Um,
Gotcha.
so it has an AC that's 10 years old, but it works fine. The sewage line's fine. So we just need to replace a little bit of flooring, some carpeting that needs to be pulled up. You can maybe lay down new carpet in there.
Right.
In the living room, some tiles. So it's mainly cosmetic. And then we do have to do a bathroom refresh. So that might cost about 3,000.
And you have a way to where you have I know you're part of a coaching program. And so
Hmm.
you've learned a lot through this coaching program that's kind of helped you get through the process of understanding different systems and different ways of how to find these clients and individuals who are looking to sell their homes and get
Right.
out. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. They lay out a system. I started this a while back, and I mean, they take you from beginning to end on how you can do this from scratch.
Right.
Picking up your website, doing all this, how to find these leads, um, and then how to find investors for these leads. Because
Mm,
just because having the leads is crucial, but
right.
having the investors on the other end is also key and makes things a lot easier and faster. Um, So yeah, they teach you how to run ads if that's what you want to do, or to me that was very difficult. So I pay for my leads at this point while I learn how to be better at ads.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you and I, well, I think we talked about that too. Is certain things where I'm learning, and I think we're both learning at the same time of really how to really run the ads out there. So when you're running the ads, are there ads for both the investors and the potential leads? You're looking at doing both, correct?
Yeah, you can do both. Actually, I wouldn't do them for. It's really easy to find your buyers.
Okay.
I because you can go to investment groups online. So paying for ads for those to me just doesn't seem like it's worth it. Like I can go to a networking event and probably find at least one or two investors who are thinking about him, want a house to flip or this and that. I don't know. It just their biggest problem is finding deals,
Finding the deals. Okay.
right? Like I can go to contractors; they're always looking to do flips if they're easy or whatnot. So I mean, there are a lot of people like that, and they're easy to find. What I find it hard is finding those motivated sellers who don't
Mhm.
want to go to the market. And a lot of times, the reasons that they don't want to go to the market is they don't like the how long the process is. They don't have the money to fix their house. Their house could be a hoarded, like a property with someone who's hoarding, and it's just not going to present well on the open market. So they'd rather take the hit than have to go through the pain of getting it ready for a listing.
Mm. No, it's true because that's it's a lot to go through that process. Most people don't you find don't know they don't understand or they don't have somebody in their life kind of helping them through that process of whether it's cleaning it up, painting, maybe have to redo some fixtures in the bathrooms, kitchen, things of that nature, cabinets. So you find that that's what it is that they're just I just want to get rid of it, and I know I'm
Yeah,
going to take a hit because I know the time and energy and money it's going to take for me to put into that property, the return on the money might not be really what I'm looking for. But if you don't know how and you don't have a good support system, it really could go
right,
back.
right. Maybe they've tried to do that before and they got burned. Sometimes it's just more of a mental game for people. Like
Mhm.
this, the person that I got this house under contract with is he moved, he found another house. I mean, he built a house in Slidell, and he doesn't want to carry two notes, and he doesn't. And there's a lot of work to be done in the house cosmetically,
Right, right.
and he works a full-time job. He doesn't have time to go do it, and he doesn't necessarily want to hire contractors to do it, and then also carry the note on the house. So, for
Yeah.
someone like that, there might be a few different options. If ROI is not his what he's looking for, and really he just wants to unload it, then we could do what we did, whereas I buy your house and then I take on all those unknowns for you. And you
Gotcha.
get your payday and you go and you have your house and slide down, you're happy.
You're,
And if
you're
people
seeing that most people are, when it comes down to some of the investors, are you finding investors that are want to be in the process, or are you finding investors that you're finding that are interested in just having a kind of a done for you kind of a program? Do they want it done with them, or are you
on
handing it?
the investor side, I think where they make the most money is if they do it,
Correct.
right? So it's just yes. I mean, unless you have a buy and hold that somebody wants you to do the work. But I would think if they're investors, they typically have their own crews that they run. And their
Okay.
biggest problem is keeping their crews busy so they can keep them on board sometimes.
Right.
So, as far as investors, and it depends on what their numbers are. The buy and hold, it might be, their numbers are different than if you're doing a flip
What are
because
some
they're
of the what's the areas that you find that where is it that you're trying to grow your business right now? What are some of the things that you're really envisioning for yourself? And I know we've been having some conversations on this. Are you seeing that you want to have more of a online systems where you're dealing with a lot of different buyers and a lot of sellers, or like what is your strengths? I guess you can say what are some of your strengths that you're finding doing
well,
this process?
I like finding the solutions for the folks and also connecting people.
Okay,
Um, like being able to really connect with this man and have him trust me to help him out, and I'm very candid. Like, hey, if you list this property, I'm a real estate agent. if you list this property, you are going to make more money, period. And
Right.
that is, if your house is in as good a shape as you say, then that's the way to go.
I've got a
Well,
question for you.
what's that?
Are we ever going to see the interest rates come back down?
I mean, we have seen them come back down, then they pop back up. So that's, yeah, I hope so. Because right now, that's what's killing most people, that insurance costs. I think if it was just one thing, if the interest rates went down and we still had to deal with insurance costs, I think that would help the market a lot. But right now, they're both high.
I'll say they're high.
Uh-huh. Which, yeah, they're high.
They get off that wacky tobacco and come back down with the rest of us. That's what I'm thinking.
Uh-huh. They're, yeah, it's insane. And I think that pretty much killed the market for a while.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Definitely put a downward pressure on the price of things. And I think a lot of people who were so used to those COVID prices, they're just very resistant and trying to hold out for the higher price tag.
It's killing everything, really. I mean, they're building left and right around my area. I'm in the St. Louis area, and I don't know how anybody can afford a house right now in this area.
Yeah. I know that if going and looking at houses, if I want to move areas, I'm like, well, shoot, mine's at a low interest rate. So why am I going to do that to myself? 'Cause now
Exactly.
I'm just, I'm taking a pay cut.
So well, it's I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you think with the cycle that you've seen with it going up and coming back down, do you ever think we'll get to a place where it'll come down and stay down back to what we were used to having, or are we
Very
those
used
days long gone?
I think like the days of 2% or 3%, I don't think we'll see that again anytime soon. That was an anomaly, really. That was like free money, you
Guilty.
know?
I jumped all over that one.
Well, smart. Yeah, definitely. And so no, I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. But I mean, right now is where investors are eating up deals when they find them. I
Sure.
know a lot of my people in my group were like waiting for this to come down the pipeline because who's buying? Cash buyers are buying because they don't have to worry about the interest rate.
You damn Skippy. Yeah, it makes it really hard for folks that are already struggling to
Mhm.
try to keep their heads above water. But that's all my knowledge on the subject. I'll be quiet now and go back to my little hole.
No, but that's a good point though. You have
Yeah,
a lot of individuals are stuck right now to where they can't move. No matter what they do, if they sell their property and to find a similar property, it's if not the same cost, it's more. So you're not really seeing any money moving to where before you can sell a property and get a couple of 100,000 out and go find something else. But the only way you're going to do that in today's time is if you're willing to move out into the country areas or out of the cities. And that's what we're seeing here in our area. I'm finding is that it's just prices are ridiculous on some of the houses. The insurance is killing it. The rents are sky high. So
there.
the ones who are, like you're saying, some of the investors are able to gobble up some of these different properties because of the rental income that's really making on it. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of. I don't see the rates coming down anytime soon. If we're lucky, we may see 4 or 5, but I don't see it anytime soon. The insurance I can't figure out, especially here in New Orleans or Louisiana in general. So I guess we'll see where that goes. But I am seeing it. I am talking to a lot of individuals that are just in the country areas. Those are the areas that are popping up that you can get some decent land, you can get some decent property, and now it's just finding a builder who's not going to that's going to be affordable to build, right? Or
Right.
just something on there, whether it's a prefab or something for a time being, for a period of time until a building construction comes back down a little bit.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle. And I mean, in New Orleans, everything just kind of sits right now. I mean, it takes 6 months. I mean, we're just in more of a buyer's market than a seller's market. Whereas in Jefferson Parish, it's the opposite.
It's more of a seller, yeah, more of a seller's market.
Yeah. Yeah. I think 3 months of inventory. So what I'm seeing, things over there are moving faster if they're priced right.
This is going to be a little bit off topic. However, uh, sit down for this one. Isn't Jefferson Parish, where Steven Seagal is supposedly a law enforcement official? Have you
I,
guys seen that show?
I,
Mhm.
I know that was a while back. So, yeah, I did hear about that. Either he did something here for or on some kind of reality show of some sort.
Well, if you
I haven't
haven't
heard of
seen it,
interview.
if you
What's that?
haven't seen the show, if you have not seen the show, I highly recommend that you don't ever see the show.
I was about to say I couldn't take his movies.
It's just unbelievable to me. You know, he's got to talk like this all the time. And anyway, I'm not going to hijack the podcast and turn it into Steven Seagal bashing, but I was just curious.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know about that. I'm gonna have to go look it up just so I can laugh. I think just the trailer would be worth watching.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Just for just for giggles. Just for
Well,
giggles.
it's great if if you're suffering from insomnia, you're having trouble sleeping, just put that on and you'll be out in no time.
Oh, I bet.
Kind of like his movie career. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry.
So, but to get back to like some of the process, like I'll have a spreadsheet that goes over, whether you need gap funds are needed. Um, you punch in everything. So what's your purchase price? How much are the repairs going to cost? What's the ARV, which is your after repair value?
Mhm.
And you're plugging those numbers in, telling you what your loan amount will be or what you need. And then lender points charge, the closing costs and everything. But it also even goes down like, okay, so say you're flipping this on, so you're going to renovate and then you're going to put it back on the market. Then you can even plug in, the real estate commissions and the closing costs for the sale after the fact. So that you can get your number and like, okay, this is what I'm going to make on this property. So it just gives you kind of a better guide versus just, I think a lot of people, what they do is they just do the loose numbers in their head and yeah, that should do it. Whereas
Right.
this gives you like, okay, really, I might make 28,000 at the end of this sale. Is that worth it to me for 3 months of work?
Correct.
Yeah, I think I could do that.
No, it is very important to really sit down and really analyze the property because most like you're saying, most people don't realize all of the different things that go into that property and some of the cost, whether it's the soft cost or hard cost, the holding fees. But if you have that form, that's very valuable for a lot of investors and individuals looking at it, especially if they've never done it before. Some individuals, like you said, once you do it enough, you have an understanding and guidance. I'm working with a few friends right now that are looking to get in. We're having a lot of conversations on just understanding the process and how I've done things and how I put my contractors on a time schedule to where they understand that, this is the period of time it's going to take you to rip this out. This is what you're going to get. But if you go over that period of time, then that's going to start being deducted out of your cost or your payment, right? And
Right.
you have to really, as you go through this enough, you start realizing you have to put those time constraints, and you have to whoever's going to do the renovations, they have to also know the numbers, in within reason, because you'll have some individuals that don't need to know the total number; they just need to know what their numbers are, what your expectations are. Am I correct?
Right, right. And I think what's great about wholesaling and when you're doing this and you're running through the analysis and maybe you're not ready, you don't have a team behind you yet to take down a property and
Gotcha.
renovate it and all that because you don't have a trusted group that you work with. I mean, how many times have we hired contractors and we thought, okay, this is going to be great, and it is not great,
Right.
you know? And the only way you really find that out is either through word of mouth with other people or, vetting them yourself and or seeing them do work for other people and then saying, okay, I'm willing to take a chance on them.
Right. Right.
But if you're wholesaling, say, or you're finding these deals, you become what we call the asset control person. So you get to decide, okay, do I want to wholesale this or do I want to take this down myself and do it? And you have choices. versus just waiting for something to fall in your lap or, having to find, hoping it will. Because I look at some of the wholesale lists and some of the properties they have coming down the pipeline, and I get emails and things like that. We've talked about this. I'm like, those don't look like deals to me.
Yeah. I mean, I was
Yeah.
looking on the MLS last night just to kind of see, and it's just tough. The numbers don't make sense, especially if a person is looking at doing a threeplex or a fourplex or anything of that nature. Anything that's out there, the numbers aren't making sense anymore.
Right.
When I first started back in the early 2000s, it was kind of easy. You can get a sixplex for 250, 300,000, and numbers just made total sense.
Hmm.
And today, I just see people come to me. I got this great deal, and they're telling me the numbers, and it's like, well, heck, I mean, I'm not even going to cash flow on that deal. It's just basically paying for the mortgage or the insurance. And I'm meeting with some individuals who do have a lot of money, and because of that, they're taking the risk of not putting insurance on it because they got the cash flow, right? So that,
Right.
like, that's
You're
saving them.
self-insuring.
Oh, yeah, that's saving them 20, 30,000 a year just on the insurance because they're willing to self-insure it themselves and just get a basic, dwelling kind of a policy, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
let's say you have somebody, oh, I don't know, let's just say me, who has zero knowledge in this arena. What advice would you give to me to find the correct agent for me?
I would look for an agent that focuses on helping investors. Um, Someone, either they themselves have invested and make sure they own investment property. I'd say
Right.
that's the number one rule. If they don't own a single piece of investment property, then I would go find somebody else.
Excellent. Thank you.
It's a niche to where, for a person like yourself, Andy, is what I found when I first got into the industry. A lot of realtors have been in the business for a long time, but I realized after a few questions, they didn't own their own property. And for me, I was able to get into this industry. I became an investor before I became a realtor. So it was kind of like a backwards kind of a way I got into it. And I learned the investment side of what to look for and understanding things. Then when I became a team leader for Keller Williams, my friend Joe, we basically put together that office, really teaching real estate agents that have been in the business for many years, understanding they have to own their own investment properties. And it took me really that short period of time. I was like 32, I believe, 32, 33. So I realized that a lot of realtors that are out there, they just don't know the numbers because, like when they said that, they've never gone through the process. And so it is finding that exact realtor that has some experience. You'll kind of see them, as you start doing some Googling, things of that nature in your way. If not, I have a connection with real estate agents across different states. Kind of give you a story on that. So my daughter is in Tennessee. So she lives in Tennessee. A couple of years ago, she called me up and said, "Dad, I want to buy a house." I said, "Ben, first we need to figure out what you're able to do. What's your credit score, right?" So she ran her credit scores pretty much in the low sixes. I said, "Okay, we have to work on that." So within about 6 months or a little bit about a year, she got her credit scores higher to where right around 700. So I said, "Okay, this is perfect time." So for me, because I understood that I don't know that area like another agent, I was able to reach out to another Keller Williams agent in that area and hook her up with my daughter. I told her, "Listen, I just need you to help guide her through, look for some properties, tell me what you see." And after about a good 3 months, they couldn't find a property that she really liked. And then my daughter called me up and asked and told me that they had an opportunity to buy a new construction home for the same price that she was financed for, right? So she's in a brand new home, new construction. The agent did fantastic, and so it was easy for me to help my daughter, which is 8 hours away, because I had a little bit more experience in talking to the agent to make sure the agent understood what we were doing, right? So sometimes you just have to have those conversations, and that's where it comes down to this community we're building, Andy, is that people can ask a question to us to where we can help you through that process when you're ready, right? And that's where some individuals don't realize that because you might have a friend or somebody who's somewhat educated and knowledgeable, we can help you anywhere you are in the world pretty much just by finding the right person and having that communication and understanding the process, because financing, insurance, and everything in your area is different from here. So that's another conversation that you get, with an insurance person that's in the area, that you understand that process. So if that answers any questions on that end.
What is, you would say, in both of your opinions, the number one hurdle that you come across?
Hurdle coming across from buying a property or buying investment property?
All of the above. I know there are going to be different answers for each particular scenario, but there's got to be a number one issue that everybody seems to run into.
It's having. I mean, tell me, Lene, what your thoughts are. It's having the down payment set aside
Right.
specifically for, because no matter what you do, you're going to have some money ready for closing. So majority of the time, the banks will do a 70 to 80% loan on whatever you're buying. So that means you have to have down payment. Now, you do have programs, and all these programs are different in different areas in different states. That if you have a FHA program or a new homeowner program and things of that nature. So, what's your opinion on that, Lene?
Um,
What other
no,
obstacles?
I agree. Yeah, no, they have, you're going to have your money together, your credit score. I think what I find is a lot of people think that they're going to get a deal just by like finding on the MLS, which is very hard to do. To find something, if it is a deal, it's going to go fast. And I would say finding the deal is the hardest thing, and your expectations of how long that's going to take. And patience. If you're doing this for money, you got to let the numbers rule the day and not let your impatience take over.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
So
I think.
you may have an investors group, right? So sometimes it's really putting it out there. It's putting it out there that you're looking. And
Yeah,
then you start finding other people that are basically in the same spot, that you never know who you're going to come across. Now, you might come across properties in certain areas, and just by making yourself up a flyer and just knocking on certain doors as you're driving around, and just let them know that, hey, I'm not sure if you're interested in ever selling, but if you are, please keep my information. And you never know where that conversation. So sometimes I'll drive by properties and I'll see that the grass is high or certain things just don't look right, and I'll just stop and just let them know that, hey, I'm an investor. I'm looking for properties in this area. If you come across anybody, so just by driving neighborhoods and doing that, puts people out there to know who you are. Two, that you're looking, and you never know what's going to happen from that. That house might not be the interested person, but they already think, you know what, my cousin, he's looking to sell his property.
right.
So it's really taking that if you're looking, if you want to be an investor, you got to kind of put yourself out there, and you got to start letting people know or start researching some areas that you would like to have investment property in. And by you letting people know that you want to be in that area, it'll open up conversations and awareness.
Right.
From an outsider looking in, it seems like from the 50,000-foot view level, this is very easy to do. However,
Mhm.
there's a lot of work that needs to go into it. And if you're a lazy type of individual, probably not the business for you to get into. Is that a
Um,
fair assessment, would you say?
yes, it is work. It is work.
Everything. There's
Yeah,
there's there's nothing easy.
it's not an easy. It's easy to get into, but to have important thing is to have your systems in place. I mean,
Right.
that's one of the important things. But yeah,
It also sounds like networking is essential.
it is. I would say so. The first time I got my first properties by, like Renee says, putting it out there. I said, "Hey, you know what? I just sold my condo. I want to buy investment properties, and this is my intention." And I told anybody who wanted to listen. And then a friend of mine called me back, and he says, "I have 11 properties. Go drive by them. Which ones do you want? And we can work it out."
Wow. So I wasn't kidding. I absolutely know nothing about this business, but I in the short 35 minutes that we've been on talking about it, I've already taken on loads of knowledge. So thank you for that, number one. But and if my questions are very, I don't know, simple, well, I'm sure there's somebody else out there that has the same
Fundamental.
question.
Fundamental. They're good questions. Um, yeah, I
No
would say
question's a stupid question. That's the thing, sure.
that's
Well,
true.
you know, that's true. However, there are stupid people asking questions. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I would say there are investment groups in every town, and they're easy to find. And go to those meetings and network with them and be around them. You know, people are doing things. A lot of people who are willing, like we are, to share their information. So, or they're looking for partners to do programs. It might be an easy way to get in if you don't have all the money, but you have some money. You don't have to take it down yourself. You could joint venture with somebody and say, "Hey, look, I've got the funds, and as long as I get this certain return, I want you to teach me how." I think Renee, you got into this business by someone teaching you how.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I was 27 when I got into the insurance business because I asked a question. I asked a gentleman who was sitting down at my table one night, and he was switching my health insurance over from Arkansas to Louisiana. I was 27, 30,000 in debt, living in my mom and dad's house. And I was just painting some buildings around the area because my sister was managing some properties. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? So asked him, "How do you get into this insurance business?" And he gave me some information. The next day he called me and he gave me an opportunity to introduce me to the manager of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And they regularly never hired people who didn't have an insurance background. But me and the gentleman, clicked, and he said, "Get your license. I'll put you to work." Right. So the same thing with the real estate. After about 2, 3 years into doing my insurance business, I was pretty good at it. But I met this gentleman, and we became good friends. And he was doing real estate flips. The same thing. I asked him, "Joe, can I do a property with you? How can I do this?" And he actually said, "Yeah, let me do. Look, I'm doing a property now. If you're willing to do the labor, I'll fund it, and we'll split the profits." And so that was my first deal, right? So I did all the labor part. The only things I didn't do is electrical and plumbing because I didn't understand that. But I tore up the flooring, I repainted the place, I fixed some sheetrock, some areas and things we had to bring somebody else in that was more specialized. We turned around that property within 3 months. Both of us walked away with 15,000 each. Wasn't
In
a
three
bad deal,
months, that's a great return.
and it's all because I asked. So I guess on your topic, Andy, what's your passion? Has been my life has been asking people to help me with something. And because I ask and because I make it to where it's value driven, right? So it's all about, hey, if I can help you with something, maybe you can help me with something. And this relationship, just like we're doing on here, it's all about communication. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to transfer money in any way, shape, or form unless it's with another person. And you're not going to get the knowledge that you're looking for unless you're reaching out to find the knowledge and putting yourself in the position with a group of individuals who understand what you're trying to do, right? And that's what I find in today's. I'm really so excited about putting these podcasts together because just like what you're going through, you're wanting to know. Me and Lene go backwards and forwards because she knows things that I don't know. And I've been doing this for a long time. She's been doing this for a long time. But both of us have strengths and weaknesses. And we're building our real estate summit group with future and other individuals because we have individuals that have 10 million, 20 million, $50 million deals they're doing. And it's for them, it's easy because they've already done it. So the max I've ever done was like 3 million, right? So for me, it's been easy to do these smaller properties and fix them up and renting them and throwing them around. But now I'm getting into this other realm of individuals who they move bigger properties faster. So I talked to a lot of my bankers, and sometimes looking at a bigger deal is easier than doing a smaller deal. The same thing with businesses. It's easier to buy a bigger business that already has a lot of cash flow and things of that nature versus a smaller business because they have systems in place. They already have years of track record and cash flow and things of that nature. So sometimes your perspective only is going to get bigger once you plug into something that's bigger. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the same thing with Lene. I mean, Lene has really kind of mastered or really kind of gotten a lot better at certain things over the years because you're doing a whole another aspect to real estate that some people don't know and they don't feel comfortable with because they've never done it. Am I
Right.
correct in saying that?
Oh yeah, it was very uncomfortable when I got started too.
Everything's uncomfortable. You just have to
Right,
get
right. When you first
past
get
the
started,
uncomfortable.
the unknown is uncomfortable. So, yeah, yeah, there are certain things I struggle with a lot of things, but that's where other people tend to kind of fill in those gaps until I get there, or maybe I don't, and maybe that's what they're good at, and I'm gonna let them run with it.
Mhm.
There you
Well,
go.
it's just like with you and Chris. I mean, Chris has a lot of good friend of ours in a plumbing business, so he helps you when with certain properties that you don't really know what you're looking for. So you bring him in to help you kind of see some things that he can help you out with,
Right.
right?
Well, right, and he has a little bit more of the construction experience. I'm like, all right, am I not seeing something here?
Correct.
Right? Bring me back to reality if I'm not.
Now, we were talking about a property. I have a friend of mine looking at down here, and I cannot see from the pictures so far why it's 65,000 that they're asking. And I know that that area supports around 175, but there's got to be something. It's a foreclosure, but it's something I'm missing. But he just now said that he talked to the agent, so I'm going to go out there today and look at it and just see that it might not be as very minor stuff. So you never know. You never know what's going to come up.
Right, not until you walk the property. A lot of times I'll get things under contract before I've even seen the property
Yeah, that's
because, but at least I'm not spinning my wheels going all the way across town to see something that I can't even get under contract. So, I mean, obviously the numbers are very conservative when I do that.
Wow, that's risky. Holy
Well,
smokes.
no, it's not. So what you do is you have an inspection period in any contract. I mean, you can waive the inspection period, but I don't. So what I tell people is like, yeah, we're under contract for this. The only reason I'm going to walk away is if there's a big problem that I didn't anticipate. And I'll
mhm.
walk away during the inspection period. That way I'm not wasting a lot of their time,
Hmm.
and we can find them another solution at that point. You know.
Wow, I had a question for you, and I got so fascinated by what you just said. It's gone. It went away.
Well, so I work with a group. They work all over the country doing this, and they said, "No, I'm going to try and get under contract before I even have to go out there, because otherwise, it's wasting my time to go 2 hours out of my way to go look at something, and they're not that serious.
Correct.
That makes
Get them
sense.
under contract. Now it's worth my time."
Yeah, it makes sense since you said it that way.
Yeah,
Wow.
because in some of
S-
these areas, it's a little more rural, and it will take them 2 hours to get there and back.
So much I don't know, and fascinated by this topic so far. Never thought I would be.
Yeah, you didn't think you were going to really participate much.
No, I thought I was going to take be in the background and take care of things that way. Apparently not.
Real estate really is fascinating when you start really thinking and understanding that it's like you said, it's not as complex as it's made out to be. It's just understanding the numbers, but you do have to put the time. So it's not made for lazy people. It's not made for somebody who's, oh well, let me just get into this. And I mean, there's a lot of mechanics and just the process of closing a real estate deal. How many people are involved in that real estate deal sometimes is over 10 to 15, 20 people, right?
It's not the way to make the fast buck, is what you're saying. It takes
Well,
work. It takes dedication.
right.
It takes drive. I remember the question I was going to ask, and it's for both of you. Have you decided on when you're going to put this symposium together for your listeners, or not quite yet? Still in the works.
Still in the works. We're
Okay.
kind of trying to get a title going, a theme, and everything. Make sure we get all the fundamentals laid out and then put together. I think once we get our direction, the direction we want to go in, I think it'll be easy to put together after that.
Yeah, I just might know a guy that possibly could help out with that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll reach out to him later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think the summit that we're planning on putting together. So that's why I think staying plugged into these podcasts and my goal is bringing on really powerful people like Lene and so many others. That what we're going after is creating these summits that are going to bring value, and it's going to help people collapse the time frame. So what you were just now saying, Andy, real estate or any kind of business or anything does not have to take a long time, but it's sometimes plugging into a system or people who have already done it that it can collapse the time frame and go faster. So the fear that some people have is that they don't know they don't know how to plug in or just plug in and stay plugged in and ask questions. And then as individuals start learning and being exposed to a group like this, then the questions get answered faster versus trying to read a book. And I was never one that goes into I would always go into Barnes and Noble, and when I went into Barnes and Noble, you always had a left side, which is fiction, and then you have the right side with success stories, right? I was always gravitated towards reading stories of successful people or people in general because that gave me an opportunity to really learn what it is and what they did to get somewhere. Excuse me, I have a cat that's banging on my door.
I was actually looking at my door. I thought my dog was trying to get in, so it makes me feel a little bit better because I didn't see it.
All it wanted to do is go sit on a chair.
Of course,
How dare you lock her or him out?
right?
Let me in. It
Yeah.
really wanted, I think it wanted to get in here because I think he's trying to learn. So he really wanted to learn more. That's what
it. That's it.
he wanted to get in.
Yeah, the group that I'm in, they host calls every day. And what's great about that is if I do have a question, I have a resource. And I think that's
Right.
where people they don't have that. And I think that's a missing piece for a lot of people.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to interrupt earlier, but I decided not to. But utilizing your resources seems to be the key to being successful, or one of the many keys,
Mhm.
because you can't do it all on your own, and regardless of whatever field you're in.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. Is we're trying to do it all.
It's
And I
tough to
think a lot
get.
of people they're stuck because they feel like they're. And again, I think we had this conversation earlier that people are just not open to asking the questions, and they're feeling like they don't deserve to ask the question, or they're scared to ask the question. And it's like you I guess I've always been a very curious person, and I just want to know, and I want to find the people who have the answers so I can make it faster. So I don't have the time to try to figure this thing out on my own. I already know. So I don't know what it is that I'm finding so many people are sometimes they're just wobbling around, and the answer's right there if you just ask, right?
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you don't know the questions to ask, how can you ask them? And that's
Right.
where it comes down to, I think, having a good mentor, uh, finding someone to latch onto that's been in the business for a while that you trust. I know
Right.
trust is a huge component. And then, learning from them. And then once you kind of learn the questions to ask, you start getting the courage to ask.
Hmm.
True. Yeah, you build on it.
But, that and $1.50 will give me a cup of coffee. So, I got that going for me.
You'd be
Gas
surprised
station.
how many wealthy individuals that if you just call them and ask them if they wouldn't mind just meeting for lunch or meeting for a cup of coffee, they will give you their time. Majority, not all, but majority, because they're just they're intrigued, and they're very honored that you look at them in that way, right? And I've had so many different individuals that I literally just do that with. And I sat down with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago that just owns tons of real estate, and he gave me about an hour and a half, and I had to cut it off because I had to go somewhere. He was very open, right? So it's just really having that confidence and having that understanding that some people are open, and it's plugging into different systems, places. So I'm hoping that this summit that we're going to be putting together, and I feel it's probably going to be towards the latter part of February. So we'll put that out into the announcements that our goal is to bring in some really good speakers that have all different areas of understanding, not only just on real estate, but in business and marketing. And I'm always looking for individuals to give us some questions. Ask me on my channels and also Lene's that, what is it that you're wanting to learn more about, so we can put together these programs, because we're looking to put together a lot of different programs on different areas to help individuals whatever stage that they're going through. Some individuals are going through stages of just, they have an idea, they don't know what to do, and they just need the next step. Some want to get in real estate investing. Some want to become a realtor. So that's certain things that we're trying to find out. What are the questions that we can help fill or put together that platform?
This may be an ignorant thing to say, and but what about, like, MailChimp has these different polls that you can do and surveys that you can send out to realtors, and maybe gather some data and some intel that way, and that way that can help formulate maybe a direction of where you want the symposium or whatever you're going to call it to go, and maybe that could garner some interest in it as well.
Sure enough.
Yeah, that's So it's just I think you do that, don't you, Milan? No, you haven't done that yet.
Not that. Well, I mean, yeah, it depends on your audience. You have a list of, I mean, I have a list, but it's not like strictly agents or whatnot. But I can always go and pull the list and say, hey, what are your most press? I mean, you can tailor it to go out to MailChimp or wherever, but then mainly you're just getting that response. And hey, what are your burning questions about real estate, or what is a concern? Are you an investor? Are you thinking about it? And what is stopping you? Or coming up with those
That's
questions.
good, Andy. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put that together. Just pose that question
I
out to
think
my
agents are a great one, especially like you were saying, so many agents are not investors,
right.
and which I think is a huge mistake.
I brought up MailChimp just because it's the only one that came to the top of my head. But yeah, any type of
Pulling.
sure, yeah. I mean, that way I would think that you're putting out the best possible product to the end user that way, because now you have their interest because you got their feedback, and it'd be very successful, I would think. I don't know. I'm just
No, agreed 100%. That
Oh,
going
yeah.
to your audience, I mean, that's the people you're serving. So if you can get them to raise their hands and give you their wants and needs, and you fulfill those needs, and you've done a great job.
Mhm.
yeah, I almost feel like I'm speaking out of turn because I don't know the business, but I think the basics are kind of same for just about
Mhm.
everything.
They are.
No, we're trying to, it's really just trying to figure out what people want. What are the problems? What are the things that they're looking for, and figuring out how to provide the solution and the resources to help them collapse the time frame. And it is very important that it's trying to get individuals just to communicate on that part to figure out what is it that certain people want. What are the challenges they're going through? How to get them unstuck to the next level. Um, and again, that's really where we are, and that's part of why I'm. People keep saying, "Why do I focus on one niche with my what's your passion?" But the challenge is I can't focus on one niche, because there's certain people at certain levels that I'm talking to. Some are young individuals right now that they have an idea. They want to make this shirt line, the clothing line, and they have the basics of it. They have a certain amount of friends that are helping them with some ideas, but then they don't know how to really kind of take it to the next level, because they don't have somebody helping them understand the business part of setting up an LLC. And why do you want to set up an LLC before you start making money, right? You want to set the LLC up. You want to keep your job. I'm coming across another group of individuals that are 37, 40 that have good jobs. They're making good money, but they want to retire one day, and they don't understand the same concept. Just start your LLC, start your business now while you're working. Don't wait until you retire. Start your business now so you can have options that gives you an opportunity where you can retire when you want to versus when you have to, right? at the same time as security blankets. So I think there's so many different individuals at so many different levels right now that are age frames. The young people don't want to go work for somebody else. They want to create their own jobs. They want to create this world, but you have to help them understand, hey, you have to do certain things and learn certain things before you can get into that world, right? Don't think that anybody who's done real estate or internet marketing or anything to where they never learned it from somebody else or somewhere else.
I understand the entrepreneurial spirit wholeheartedly, but I'll just say one thing that my dad used to tell me all the time, and that was, well, boy, the world needs ditch diggers too.
Right.
Absolutely.
You
No.
know. Anyway, this has been fascinating. I learned more than I thought I would. I have definitely had more interest than I thought I would. I really needed a nap because I didn't sleep that great last
I
night,
was
but I
about to
guess
say, I'm glad we kept you awake.
I'll get that some other time, I guess. But wow, thank you guys. This has been amazing.
No, it's been
So,
great.
Lene, anything that before we end it, anything that you want people to know about you, where to reach you, how to get in
Oh
contact?
yeah. So I was thinking that if people wanted to email me, if they would like a copy of the spreadsheet that I use to analyze deals, I'd be happy to send it to them. I also have a capture page. I can pull that up. It's louisianahousepartners.com/deal-flow. And there they can um, say what kind of investors they are, beginner or whatnot, and then they just send me their info, and I'll be happy to respond and give them that spreadsheet.
So that's louisianahousepartners.com/deal
-flow.
deal-flow.
'Cause that's what we're all looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, perfect. So that's Lene. If you have anything you want to get in touch with Lene, you can reach her at again, louisianahousepartners.com/deal/deal-flow.
No, deal-flow.
I'm sorry, deal-flow. So louisianahousepartners.com/deal-flow.
Got it.
Okay. And my name is Renee Manford with What's Your Passion. You can go to my WYPUSA.com, learn more about what we're doing with What's Your Passion. We do have different platforms we're planning for February or toward the end of February with this summit. Stay tuned. We'll be posting that and putting it out there. So I do thank you very much for your time.